I'm going to get back to the starters for Indiana, but who is going to be that fifth starter? And we'll have to wait and see for the most part. Not because Mike Woodson hides anything. Mike Woodson doesn't hide anything. If he knew who his starters were, I don't know if he would tell you just yet, but doesn't hide much. But Xavier, Trey Galloway at the guards, unquestioned. I'm going to be surprised, and I think a lot of people are, how good Gabe Cupps is in a reserve role. Backing those two guys up, but is he going to be the backup for both? It's going to be interesting to see. Mackenzie Mbako.
Do we think there's any chance that Anthony Walker starts?
No, he's another big. I mean, you got Peyton Sparks. I mean, he's like 6'11", right? So you've got Anthony Walker, Khalil Ware, and Malik Renew, who are 6'10", 6'7" foot, and
are you 6'11"? Are we? Who? So it probably depends on what they're gonna. I don't know that they're gonna play in terms of position basketball. They're
not. It's not going to be what you saw last year. I can tell you that.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. So do you put in? I mean, like, are they going to go three guard?
That's what I'm saying. I don't.
That's why you're asking the question.
That last spot.
I feel like
sure about. I don't know if it's. Is it a 3? Is it a hybrid? A 2-3 hybrid? Is that going to be a CJ Gunn, a Caleb Banks?
Do you think,
or a Gabe Cupps? Who knows? You, like I said, 3 guards. You go fast and often. I don't know. But that's the good thing is those options are there that were not there last year. They did not have that option last year, especially once X went down. And I don't know how well that Xavier and we would not have gotten or seen. You would have not have seen the Jalen Hood-Schifino you saw had Xavier not gotten hurt, which that sucks that he got hurt, but it changed the entire dynamic. As a matter of fact, if Xavier didn't get hurt, he might not be here this year. And
he would not be.
And Jalen Hood-Schifino might still be. I'm not sure, but because his opportunities allowed him to do and show things. Dude, you go to Purdue and you put 35 points on the board and basically carry your team on your back and beat a team that's ranked at top 5 in the country.
Right.
No, yeah, that's gonna send the spotlights out, and it did. But that doesn't happen if Xavier's in the game. So, but anyway, we have what we have to work with. So it's going to be interesting what that last spot is.
I wonder if there's going to be some sort of rotation based on matchup. Not like a constant rotation, but in terms of like, is one guy going to start 20 games and another guy going to start 10? I mean, a lot of this depends on chemistry and what your rotation is going to look like. But when you have this type of depth at guard and at the bigger positions, you can kind of play, you can match up better from a game-to-game basis, which is what I thought they would do last year. They really didn't, but they would have the opportunity to do that. So that is going to be interesting. I don't know. What's their early – I haven't looked. I'll bring it up right now, actually, because you might be able to tinker with some of this stuff early in the season. They got the exhibition games, Florida Gulf Coast, Army, Wright State, before they play Connecticut. So you might be able to tinker around a little bit in those first couple games with the starting lineup to see what works best before you play UConn in the Empire Classic on November 19th.
Absolutely. We'll see that. And yeah, and I know for those of you that are watching and listening on YouTube, there was a comment that's up here that I'm not going to repeat on the air because I got that same information in July. So before everybody jumps off of the diving board on that, you have to wait until you verify things like that. And that's why. And there's a key word mentioned in it, and I'm not blaming you, KT. But it's asking if anyone else has seen or heard that rumor. That's the key word. That's what it is. Until it is not a rumor, it's a rumor. I will tell you right now, I had multiple texts to me in July with that same thing that's written right there. This past July. And one of them came from somebody that I realized, I was like, oh, wow, that's why you don't go to Facebook for news. Just go to news for news.
Right.
Just go to the news for the news. The news will come to you. I promise you. You're not going to miss it. But yeah, that's something I'm very, very leery of. I try to be very leery of across the board, but especially something like that. So there's that. Caleb, who is very, very in tune and actually a contributor to the Hoosier.com in sorts. He says he'd be pretty surprised if it isn't Xavier, Gallo, Mbako, Renew, and Ware. And that would be a pretty staunch lineup. It's going to be interesting to see Mbako and Renew. They're very different. Mbako is, Renew and Ware. I mean, gee whiz, you talk about you're back to having two bigs in there, but Khalil Ware is a different type big. But I think that Malik Renew, even with that size, is going to try to play a little farther away from the basket more than one would think. And that serves two purposes. One, if he has improved his game to do that, then that in and of itself is a bonus. But also, you're drawing a big out. Who's guarding Renew? Let's say Purdue, for example. Who is Mount Edie going to guard? Is he going to try to guard Kel'el Ware, who should be much faster and quicker? Or is he going to guard Malik Renew, who's 6'10" and 3,000 pounds? I mean, he's a big dude, man. He can. Yep. He's the only guy on the team that he's going to have to guard Edie on the defensive end, no doubt. He's going to have to put that butt into Edie, because that's the thing that Edie has. You can't move him, but he also is not that athletic, and so that's where I think that Indiana could make life difficult on him again if you've got Malik Renew guarding him, and then you've got someone like Kel'el Ware collapsing down at times. He's going to have to get better at passing out to his Purdue teammates, and they're going to have to knock down shots. Something that Trace Jackson Davis did very well last year. He just didn't have the guys that could knock down the shots at times.
That would be the thing for Purdue. I agree with you. I was going to mention, I think if you put Malik Renew on Edie and then have Ware come over to a double team or collapse, or to help out and force him to kick out, because his passing is not bad, but Purdue's 3-point shooting was not good last year. And so that's where the issue is. If Purdue can't hit open shots, then that's going to be, again, an issue. So, I mean, but they're going to have all kinds of. This is where they do have. Indiana's got some options because of their athleticism. Malik can step. He's not crazy athletic, but he can step out and hit long jumpers, so he can pull guys away from the rim. It's not his forte, but he can do it.
That's the point I was making. 5 Left says he likes what he's hearing about Caleb Banks. Well, we saw what Caleb Banks wants to bring last year when he got his minutes. I mean, I use the same phrase every time because it was Mike Woodson saying, hey, make the most of your minutes. He made the most of his minutes. He was kind of an undersized. Sometimes he played undersized, but successfully. So there's a guy that could slide into that 3 spot. You know, is that CJ Gunn and Caleb Banks, you know, alternating at the 3? You've got Gabe Cups behind Xavier and Trey Galloway at the guard spot. You've got Peyton Sparks, Kalel Ware, Malik Renew, Anthony Walker for bigs, Mbako out on a wing. They've just got more pieces. And someone asked, you know, what's the 7-8 rotation? I think I just named it, unless I'm leaving somebody out. But
well, so here, that's the crazy part. How many guys do you think they're going to go deep on this?
Well, that's never known until the season gets going and you see who is really.
Well, I'm aware of that, but we're also we're projecting starters here. We don't know who's going to start.
Well, that's one thing. But I think, all right, so you got Xavier Johnson, definitely, Kalel Ware, Gabe Cups, Malik Renew, Caleb Banks, CJ Gunn, Mackenzie Mbako, Trey Galloway. That's 9, right? I'm at 9 or 8 or 9 already.
You think Ja'Kai Newton's going to play?
No.
Okay.
And just because of the injury. And he would add another wrinkle to it if he were, but I think that because of the injury, no. But if I can't remember if I was at 8 or 9 there, but and of those, who did I, all right, I didn't mention Anthony Leal. I did not mention Ja'Kai Newton.
Anthony Walker, did you mention him?
I don't think I did, but he's an unknown, listed at 6'8". So he's going to be in the rotation early, and that's going to get cut down. And depending on his play, he's a senior, a veteran, but he left the school. So
what I would say is the optimistic thing. We talked about this last year, so I'm saying this and take it with a grain of salt because there's a level of you have to see it for me to believe it because I haven't seen it yet. But on paper, it looks like every position on the floor has a legitimate backup, and that's a good sign. Like you could have 2 guys for each position on the floor at least. But I said the same thing last year, and that was not the case at all. So it's a little bit to me, believe it when I'll see it. But on paper, it looks like this team has a legitimate, 10-man rotation they could go with and feel comfortable with everybody on the floor. We'll see how that works out. Obviously, we got a couple months here, but on paper, there's a lot to be optimistic about.